There are 7 types of nutrients. These are vitamins, water, fats, proteins, carbohydrates, fibres and minerals. These are then split up into 2 categories. Macronutrients, which are carbohydrates, fats and proteins, and macronutrients means they take up most of your diet, so you need a lot of them, and micronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals, and micronutrients mean that you don't need as much of them, but you still need a fair amount of them. Carbs. 1 gram of carbohydrate is equivalent to 4 kilocalories, and we should be consuming around 55% of our daily intake should be carbs, and their primary role is to provide our bodies with energy. These are used as an energy source for the body before it then gets converted into glucose and then stored as glycogen. Glycogen can then be stored in 3 different places. 325 grams can be stored in the muscles, 100 grams can be stored in the liver, and between 15 and 20 grams can be stored in the blood as blood glucose. Carbohydrates can then be split into 2 categories: simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbs include things such as sugar, syrup, jam, honey and fizzy drinks. Complex carbs include things such as bread, crackers, rice, pasta and potatoes. There are 3 types of carbohydrates: monosaccharides, disaccharides and polysaccharides. Monosaccharides are simple carbohydrates. Examples of these include fructose and glucose. These 2 things here have no bonds and they are broken down easy, and they are used quickly, so this is beneficial for athletes like 100-meter sprinters and weightlifters because they need that short burst of energy to use up. Disaccharides, which are also simple carbohydrates. Examples of these are lactose and sucrose. These only have a single bond to break, so like monosaccharides, they don't take long to break down, but they do take a little bit longer. Polysaccharides, which are a complex carbohydrate, these have lots of bonds to break down, so compared to the other 2, it takes much longer to break down, and this is beneficial for long distance runners because they need to use their energy slowly. So by having lots of bonds, it allows them to maintain a sustainable digestion. Fats. We should consume 30% of fat in our diets, and 1 gram of fat is equal to 9 kilocalories. Fats have 8 roles. These are to protect our vital organs, to regulate our body temperature, to add flavour to food, to provide a structural material for cells, to provide us with energy, to store fat-soluble vitamins, to grow and repair our muscles, and then to supply essential fatty acids. Fats can then be split into 3 sections: saturated fats, monounsaturated fats, and polyunsaturated fats. 11% of our 30% overall intake of fat should be saturated, and these can be taken from things such as butter, coconut, and cake. Monounsaturated fat should take up about 13% of our overall fat intake, and this can be found from nuts, olives, and red meat. Then finally, polyunsaturated fat can take up about 6% of our fat intake, and this can be taken from things such like oily fish and sunflower oil. Proteins, our daily protein percentage intake should be about 15%. The main role of protein is for growth and repair of the muscles. However, this can be used as a secondary energy source in extreme conditions. This means that the body breaks down our own muscles to provide our bodies with the energy we need. There are things called amino acids, and these are also known as the building blocks of protein. There are 2 types of amino acids, essential and non-essential. There are 8 essential ones and 12 non-essential ones, meaning there are a total of 20 amino acids. A complete protein is a food which contains all 20 amino acids, for example, meat, fish, eggs, offal, and cheese. Then an incomplete protein are foods which originate from a plant, but they can be formed together to make a complete protein, and they are called an incomplete protein because they are lacking a specific amount of any type of an amino acid. And these include things such as cereals, rice, bread, pasta. Vitamins. Vitamins do not provide us with energy, and the body does not make most of the vitamins we need. There are two types of vitamins, fat-soluble and water-soluble. As you can see in the table, there are 7 different vitamins. There are 4 fat-solubles and 2 water-solubles. So if we go for the fat-soluble, you've got vitamin A, which is, it helps you to see in night and day and can be found from dark green vegetables and carrots. A deficiency, which means if we don't have enough of it, is a consequence of. So if we don't have enough vitamin A, we'll get dry skin and reduced night sight. And then if you go on to the next fat soluble, which is vitamin D, it helps with strong bones and teeth and calcium absorption. This can be found in egg yolk, liver, or just the sunlight, and if we don't get enough, we'll end up with weak bones and teeth. Vitamin E keeps cells undamaged and protects cell walls. This can be found in seeds and nuts, and if we don't have enough, it messes up our nerves, so causes nerve abnormalities. And then the last of the fat soluble is vitamin K, which is found in milk and cabbage. It assists in blood clotting, and if we do not have enough, it will cause defective blood clotting. Moving on to water solubles then, so you've got vitamin B and C. Vitamin B is found in meat, milk and vegetables. It helps with energy production. If we do not have enough, it will make us lose our appetite and cause more consistent muscle cramps. And vitamin C is found in citric fruit like oranges and lemons, and it helps to keep our immune system scurvy free, which is like what pirates used to have. And the deficiency of this would be bleeding gums. Minerals. Minerals also do not provide us with energy, and the body does not make most of the minerals we need. There are 2 types of minerals, trace and macro. So if we go through the trace minerals, which means we don't need much of it, you got zinc, magnesium and iron. Zinc helps with carbon dioxide transport, it can be found in cheese, and a deficiency is reduced respiration. And then we have magnesium, which helps with reproductive functions and can be found in peanuts and kidneys. If we do not get enough of magnesium, it can cause our reproductive organs to start failing. And then the last of the trace minerals is iron, and this helps with the formation of hemoglobin. It can be found in liver or eggs. A deficiency of this, if we do not get enough, is anemia. So here we have our 3 macronutrients: calcium, potassium and sodium. Calcium helps with the bone formation and muscle contractions and can be found in milk. If we do not have enough calcium, it can cause us to have weak bones and weak muscle contractions. Potassium helps with nerve impulses and can be found in bananas. A deficiency is reduced coordination. And then sodium helps with water balance, can be found in table salt. And then if we do not have enough sodium, it can cause dehydration. Fibre. A fibre is a complex carbohydrate which cannot be digested. There is no energy value attached, and it's a non-starch polysaccharide. If we do not get enough fibre in our digestive system, it can cause us to be constipated. However, if we have too much fibre, then it will cause us to have diarrhea. There are 2 types of fibre. Insoluble means it doesn't dissolve, and soluble, which means it does dissolve. Insoluble fibre prevents bowel disorders, and it pushes right the way through the digestive system. Examples include Weetabix, which is a whole grain. Soluble fibres prevent the uptake of nutrients, so it stops us from taking in too much of the same nutrient, and it helps with weight management. It also controls cholesterol and blood glucose. An example of this is fruit, veg and oats. The average person should consume 8 grams of fibre a day. Water. We should drink between 6 to 8 cups of water a day on average. There are 3 roles of water: to transport nutrients, to regulate body temperature, and to aid passage of food through the digestive system. We can get water from 3 different places: fluids, food, and when we respire in our metabolism. And as you can see here, it says how much we should get from each thing. So if we look at this, the comparison part, compare a marathon runner to a weightlifter, we can see here that I have increased the percentage of carbohydrates the marathon runner should have for long distance running, because, as you know, complex carbohydrates release energy slowly, so this helps the long distance runner. And then protein has stayed the same and fats have been halved. So if you talk about that, carbohydrates go up because as a long distance runner you'll be running for about 2 hours. Complex carbohydrates break down slowly, so these are most important for a long distance runner, but when it comes to a sprint finish, the athlete will need more simple carbohydrates for a short burst of energy, which as running around they'll collect from like the glucose packs they receive. Protein is also key because when running you naturally get muscle tears, so in the body the protein needs to be repairing the muscles as you're running. Fats are also important because they protect organs and provide us with energy, and also to regulate our body temperatures. This is important when the marathon is taking part and the participant is running, because it allows them to sweat effectively to cool themselves down. Sodium is also important because it stops dehydration and helps water balance. The consumption of water will have to increase up to about 12 cups a day, or 3 to 4 litres, to regulate body temperature and to carry away the bad nutrients from the muscles and to transport more oxygen to the working muscles so the athlete can perform more effectively. If the athlete becomes dehydrated, then this will result in performance level decreasing because the participant cannot perform effectively. Calcium is also important because it allows our muscles to contract smoothly in order for us to perform to a high standard, as stated in the sliding filament theory. Fibre does not change because it doesn't affect performance, so we'll still need that 18 grams a day. So if you compare that to a weightlifter here, you can see that carbs takes up half the diet, so it's gone down 5%, and this is because the protein and fats are probably more important than carbohydrates to a weightlifter, because, well, the carbohydrate needed for a weightlifter are probably more simple carbohydrates because it gives that short burst of energy. Fat is reduced but still fairly high because it protects the vital organs which the weightlifter will be putting a lot of pressure on. Protein is just as important as carbs because the weightlifter needs muscle, and technically more muscle mass means you are theoretically stronger. The weightlifter needs good growth and repair of muscles, so protein is vital. Vitamin D is essential because lifting weight you need strong bones, so good strength to withstand pressure being put on them. And then finally, potassium is vital for effective nerve functioning when lifting weights, and the athlete needs good coordination. Water will still go up a tiny bit, up to about 10 cups a day, and also, just like the marathon runner, fibre will not need to change.